Hey, what's up, witches? My disembodied voice is here again because I wanted to do a quick little intuitive tarot reading for everybody now that it is officially the Autumn Equinox, the day when light and dark are perfectly balanced. From here on out, the days will be getting progressively shorter as we head into winter. So I figured that this time of transition, end of one cycle, beginning of another cycle, as we transition from summer into fall, would be a great time to sit and do a little tarot reading with everybody. So let's get into it. I've shuffled my Tarot of the Golden Wheel. So let's see what these next few months have in store for us. The Nine of Swords, the Four of Wands, and the Five of Wheels. So let's look at these three first. So in the first card, we can see this person seems very overburdened and just really going through a period of turmoil. They're all hunched in on themselves, and these swords are literally looming, hanging over this person's head. Swords, as we know, are the suit of intellect, communication, mental capacity, thought, all of those types of logic brain things. So to me, what this indicates is a period of intense mental struggle, depression, mental turmoil, and in some ways that can make sense, especially for this transition time of year that we're heading into. Fall is my favorite time of year, but I know for others it can really bring on the seasonal depression. And I really felt that for sure during the depths of the winter last year in particular. But even right now, what for me is a very poignantly beautiful time of year as the leaves start to change and the weather turns cooler, it also does serve as a reminder, as House Stark likes to say, that winter is coming. So with this time of transition and end of one cycle and beginning of another, it can definitely just feel like it's very overwhelming. There's a lot going on, a lot to take in, and for some, the struggle is just really real, whether that be externally or, in this case, mentally. It can just really signify almost that you're very just wrapped up and in your own head about things. So this being the suit of swords, and just with the imagery on this card itself, to me it really represents almost more of mental turmoil, being stuck in your own head about things. It's definitely easy as someone with anxiety to just get caught up in those spirals of thought that can really drag you down into the depths of despair, like this person seems to be. But if we look at the cards next to it, well, the Five of Wheels is also kind of depicting that winter type of scene and that winter type of energy, but more grounded in the physical plane, with the pentacles or wheels representing the element of earth and more material things and worldly matters like finances, career, home life in terms of stability and comfort and those types of things. And this couple they don't really have any of those worldly possessions. They're just huddled in their cloaks next to the fire, and to me this represents the rune Nothis, or the need fire, which is just really that essential element that can sustain you in the darkest, coldest of times, whether that be the winter that we're approaching, where we are just going to kind of have to really circle the wagons, hunker down, and it really can be a time to turn inward and work on shadow work during these darker seasons of the year. And that can be a very good and very healthy thing. But it's important to focus on what the reality of the situation is, what's actually necessary for you to survive Do you have everything that you need? I know for me personally, sometimes I can get very wrapped up in my own head about things and scenarios and turn mountains into molehills, when really, I mean, these people don't have a lot, but as long as they have this fire, they have what they need to survive. And so it can really be a time, and not only as the foliage and the trees are dropping their leaves and dying back, for us to also prune what is no longer needed, no longer necessary, or what might be holding us back or overburdening us, and just really stripping it down to the bare essentials of what do you really need to focus on right now? What do you really need to get through the coming months? And maybe get out of our own head about things, because the Four of Wands is a very bright and happy card. 4 is a very stable number, and the wands represent fire, which we also see carried through into this Wheels card. Prosperity and creativity, but it also leading to happy relationships and a happy, stable home life, because wands and fire are that symbol and element of creativity, passion. So yeah, maybe it's just time to really focus inward and spend time with your loved ones around the fire as the days get colder, and just focus internally on your home life. It's going to be that time when we are less focused on outside, as being able to be outside becomes less and less of a thing. So maybe it is that time to just kind of retreat inward, focus on hearth and home and family and what you need to make it through these dark times without getting caught up and stuck in a rut and like in your own head about things. So let's pull some more. We have the Page of Wheels, the Three of Wheels, and the King of Wands. So the Page of Wheels is the beginning of the kind of royal cards of the suit. So it goes like Page, Knight, Queen, King typically. And so the page is still more of a youthful person, still maybe new to the world and the ways of things, but still grounded in that earth element of the material world, career, home and family life, in terms of having like security and stability in those areas. And it says here in the booklet that the Page of Wheels is actually a card of chant, and it favors the resolution of everyday practical issues. To me, the page represents not only new to things and like new to the way that things work, but because of that, just also full of potential energy, enthusiasm, and ready to go out there into the world and create new opportunities. While you're taking the time to maybe retreat inward, be a time to focus on projects, either finishing up what you already started or honing in on what you want to be really working on as we go into these more internal, intrusive, turning inward months. It says that this kind of symbolizes the possibility to acquire new useful knowledge or start those new material projects that can grow during this slower time of the year. Now is the perfect time to kind of build those earthly foundations. And with the Three of Wheels, we also see that this person is somewhat of a craftsman. You know, they appear to be creating this elaborate structure with a little hammer and chisel. So to me, that does definitely represent material things in terms of industry, creation, carrying through this creative, passionate energy generated by the wands and using it to, start these new projects and these new ventures in the material everyday world, and being willing to work to achieve those goals or complete those projects. Once you kind of start off as a page or like He almost represents to me being like the Three of Wheels, more of like an apprentice craftsman. But yeah, being willing to learn, being willing to start new things, and having that inner passion and that inner fire to see it through, because that's definitely what's represented by the King of Wands, being the king of the suit of fire and passion and creativity, is he's very like secure in his element and in his position at the top of the hierarchy in this case. So it's someone that really knows what they are passionate about and is able to harness that energy and that passion to carry it forward. And so usually they like to say that with these cards it could symbolize either an actual person in your life or that might come into your life to inspire that creativity and that passion within you, or that you yourself are ready to step into that role and embody those energies. And to me, with it being the King of Wands, to me that's also like a counterpart to the Queen of Wands, which in this deck really represents that like Freya, fire, creative, passionate Kanaz energy to me. And so this, I think, could also be representing some Freyr as harvest god, bringing things to fruition and full potential, represented by that Ingwaz rune of potential energy. Like now it's really been kindled and is like fully aflame in his energies and passions. So let's pull 3 more. Oh, yeah, Emperor coming in with the big Odin energy. I mean, I was just talking with some other pagans today about how people really seem to get into paganism this time of year. I know for me, like, I found the gods toward the very end of summer, beginning of fall, like right around this time of year. I think not only is it just something about this liminal transition energy that you can really, I think, just sense if you take the time to just pay attention to what's going on in nature and the world around you. It's the beginning of that time of transition. There's just an interesting energy and feel to the air, if you ask me. And I think with Norse paganism specifically, it's also when I start feeling that Vanir energy of nature being in full bloom and in its full vibrancy. It's, you know, we're getting into the waning half of the year where it's going to be the final harvest and things are going to be dying back for the winter. And that's really when I start to feel Odin's energy really pick up and start to be more actively present in Midgard. And that's definitely to me what the Emperor card represents here. But also just that kind of getting all your affairs in order, having that higher minded thinking where we're out of the depths of despair of being stuck in our own heads and able to start anew, start afresh, begin those projects, start to tap into that higher wisdom, that higher authority, and really start to communicate with these deities of the dark half of the wheel of the year as they're starting to come through for us. Ooh, the moon, which as a Norse pagan also represents Mani, but also in tarot, the subconscious. So yeah, as we're getting into that time of year when it's going to be good to be doing shadow work, focusing inward on ourselves and our day-to-day survival and what do we really need in this world. Not just to survive, I think, physically, but also mentally. Freya is often telling me to focus on the things that feed your soul, and this is really the time of year that you can do that, because we aren't going to have the beauty of nature and its full bloom to, especially for me, kind of act as that pick-me-up, which can really lead into that seasonal depression, but it can be that time to focus inward on those inroads of the subconscious and shadow work. And 6 of Wheels, I think also, still very grounded in the physical, in the earthly realm of Midgard and all it has to offer. Here we see this mother and child standing at the gates with her apron full of what looks to be apples, which is very fitting as we are getting into that harvest time of year, that harvest cycle when all of the things that we've been working on over the spring and the summer are reaching fruition. And we just recently had Mabon or Lunasad, Feast of First Fruits, that first harvest of the year. So it really is that time to start gathering your fruits and your flowers from whatever you've been doing during these hot summer months, and be able to have that to carry forward. And to me, it also represents almost like an ancestral energy that we're also going to see picking up as we get closer to Samhain, Halloween, that time when the veil is thinnest and our ancestor energies, our ancestor lineage is really going to be showing up more clearly, and we'll be able to connect to that energy more easily as the veil grows thinner, to collect that inherited wisdom and channel it. So that's really, really kind of cool to see as we kind of go from things that might look kind of dark and bleak at first, but there's still a lot of growth to be had even as we enter this period of dormancy in the world around us. It's just this period of almost like the caterpillar that I found on my front porch the other day, and when I came out the next morning, he had already cocooned himself. It's that time of year for us to start thinking about doing the same, and sometimes that's okay to retreat inward, not only as we retreat inward indoors into our homes for the fall and the winter, but also retreat inwards into ourselves and focus on those things that feed our own internal fires and our passions. Because working on those things, working on ourselves and our own spiritual growth is really what's going to carry us through this period of the Wheel of the Year. So to follow that up, I'm going to pull from my Threads of Fate Oracle Rose Gold Edition. I haven't really used this Oracle deck in a while. It's the first Oracle deck I ever got. So I'm just going to shuffle it really quick. Definitely fits my aesthetic, my vibe, especially as we are getting into this Halloween and spooky season. I am all about it. Like, this is my favorite time of year, personally. I think maybe because it is such a fleeting transitional time of year. It doesn't, like, fall doesn't last very long. We'll have a couple good days of just perfect fall weather, and then winter will be here before we know it. So I think it's important to cherish it and really be in that present moment. The Creator, the universe. So yeah, now is the time. As we see in these wands and King of Wands, here we have a wand here as well, symbolizing that inner fire and taking that energy of the universe and channeling it to manifest what we want into the pentacle cards, into physical reality. Creator finds us when we need to move the raw and pure energy in our body and allow it to physically manifest. To be with creation is to simply interpret that which is already within us. There are no rules for creation. This card also may indicate a time where you need to protect your creative work. Think of ideas, inspiration, and creativity as a seed that needs adequate attention, nurturing, and protection. If you have an idea or are working on something, you are being encouraged to keep the energy close to you. Nurture the seed, protect it, and keep it within your personal container. Do not scatter or share sacred creative energy with others until you know it is the right time. Like I said, now is that time to kind of cocoon yourself and retreat inward. Focus on you and what you really need right now. That's okay. The balanced creator has lots of energy and finds inspiration easily. Others may perceive them as always moving to new things, but in reality they are grounded enough to show up to one idea in order for it to manifest. And let's see what the universe card has to say. This card asks you to fully trust that there is a plan for you and that you have the support of the unseen. There are forces at play much larger than you could imagine. Surrender to that which you cannot control and trust in the idea that Spirit is always orchestrating what is most needed. This card, very fitting for this being a reading for transitioning from one cycle to another, It says this card may come at a time when a cycle or trial is also coming to a close. Phrase any what if questions in a positive way. What if this is going to be okay? What if this is exactly as it should be? Sometimes we become paralyzed in the practical world because we are waiting for Spirit to show us the way. However, the universe co-creates with us. We must be empowered as humans in this dense reality with all these Pentacle Earth cards to really show up for what we want and trust that Spirit will do the same. If you are someone who is always asking for signs, which I know I have been lately, try to take a break from that. Trust yourself as well. I think that's really cool and very fitting for the cards that we pulled in this reading. And so before I close things out, I'm going to pull from my rune bag, especially now that we have Odin showing up for this reading in particular. Let's pull like one big daddy rune. Pair throw. The lot box, and I think that speaks to the trusting the universe. I've been pulling this rune constantly for the last 2 weeks over specific matters in particular related to my own life, and it's just kind of like sometimes you really do have to just leave it in the hands of fate and trust that the universe will provide whatever is needed. So I think that is a great place to leave this reading off. I hope it is as exciting and informative for you as it was for me. This was definitely a very interesting and different intuitive reading from some of the ones that I've done previously. So yeah, I'm excited to see some of these cards showing up, and let me know what resonates for you in particular. Until next time, stay classy, pagans.